Welcome back. I'm Dolly, and tonight we're diving into a story sent in by a loyal viewer, Mark, who insists this isn't fiction. This is a final, horrifying record. This is the story of Mark's cousin, a brilliant man named Dr. Elias Vance. Elias dedicated his life to studying places where suffering didn't just fade. It stuck. He called it resonant trauma. His final project led him, inevitably, to Waverly Hills Sanatorium in Louisville, Kentucky. Mark told me the facts. Between 6,000 and 8,000 people died there from the White Plague. The hopelessness was a tangible, permanent thing. Elias wanted the heart of the fear. He found it in the tunnel. Elias called it the Death Passage. 500 feet of enclosed, sloping concrete, built to secretly ferry the dead out on a motorized rail car. "It's a secret river of forgotten souls," Elias told Mark. "And we are going to walk its banks." Elias's team was small. Elias Vance, the academic lead. Ben Miller, the skeptical audiovisual technician. And Sarah Jenkins, a sensitive. They started on the 4th floor, the infamous isolation wing. The air was heavy, the temperature cold. Elias noted the smell, decay, and old medicine. "I smell dust and fear, Dr. Vance," Ben grumbled. Then Sarah heard it first. "Elias, I hear something. Faint, like fabric rustling. And a small child, humming." The off-key lullaby was there, thin and chilling. Then Ben snapped. "What in the hell was that, Elias?" "It wasn't static," Sarah insisted. "It was a scream. A small, suppressed scream, like someone had their mouth covered. And then it came. The distinct sound of a small, hard ball being bounced. They followed the sound to the sunroom. The tapping stopped. Sarah gasped. It moved. The ball. It rolled. 3 rotations, against the downward slope of the floor. Then, from the absolute blackness of a far corner, came a high-pitched, childish giggle. "The eyes! Elias, look away! Red eyes!" Sarah screamed. "They're floating!" The red eyes vanished, but the giggling was replaced by the worst sound of the night. The wet, gasping cough from the White Plague returned. Only now it was inside the room with them. The suffocating, rattling sound of a lung dissolving. "This is not residual," Elias declared, fighting panic. "This is a full-force entity. We move, now, to the Death Passage." But as they tried to reach the door, something invisible slammed it shut. They were locked in. The high-pitched giggling and frantic tapping returned, layered with deep, rattling breaths and a thin, high-pitched wail. "The thermal imaging is spiking," Elias shouted. "Multiple cold spots are coalescing into shapes. They're pressing against us." "I can't move my arm, Elias!" Ben yelled, voice cracking. "Something is holding my elbow." "It's freezing. It's like a hand. Let go." "I smell formaldehyde." "I smell sulfur," Sarah wailed. The walls are screaming! Then came a massive crashing sound. The tables! Ben screamed. In the kitchen! They just flipped! They're moving by themselves! That was an intentional physical act, Elias realized. Whatever this is, it's aware. And then, a man's voice, slow, deep, and unnervingly polite, spoke right next to Elias's ear. But you haven't seen the main attraction yet. The theater of my departures. It's impolite to leave before the curtain call. Elias knew they had to face it. New plan. We go to the death passage. We meet it on its own terms. They entered the death passage, the 500-foot cement tube. They loaded the bodies onto a motorized cart here, Sarah whispered. Lowered them down to the bottom. The energy here is different, Elias noted. It's a slow, steady stream. The constant knowledge that you are being moved, wrapped, and packed, to be forgotten forever. Then Sarah let out a long, shuddering cry. The smells! They're all here. Carbolic acid, sulfur, and copper. So much copper. She couldn't see, but she felt them. Thousands of cold spots. They are trapped on the track. They don't know they're dead. Elias told them to turn off their lights. After 20 agonizing seconds, a single, weak, flickering light appeared far down the passage. A candle. Behind it, an apparition emerged. Full-bodied. Transparent, but distinct, Elias whispered. A woman. A nurse. She's walking toward us. Slow. Dragging footsteps echoed up the chute. Sarah noticed the nurse wasn't looking at them. She was looking at her own hands. Her hands. They are black. Completely charred, Elias documented. And there's a massive hole in her chest. A deep, wet wound. The nurse stopped. A sound like dry paper rattled from her throat. Where is my patient? I cannot leave. They took him. They took all of them down the hole. Then, slowly, she turned her head. Elias! Sarah screamed. Her eyes! The sutures. The nurse's eyelids were sewn shut with thick black thread. The fear of her isolation was stitched into her very soul. Elias tried to run, pushing past his team, scrambling up the chute toward the surface. But then came a sound that shook the very concrete. The sudden, impossibly loud sound of a heavy motorized cart rushing down the steep, slick rails. It's the cart! It's coming! Get off the rails! Ben shrieked. They clawed their way onto the central walkway. The roar was deafening. The runaway cart shot past them, a black blur. In a momentary flash of light, they saw it. The cart was piled high. Not with draped bodies, but with human torsos, limbs and heads, haphazardly stacked. And on top, steering the phantom machine, was the dark figure of the man who had spoken to Elias. His face was obscured by a wide, horrible smile. He was bringing the dead back in. The wave of despair that followed the cart knocked Ben and Sarah to the ground. Elias, further ahead, stumbled and fell, his head striking the cement. My head is bleeding. Sarah? Ben? Elias whispered. No answer. Only the slow, shuffling footsteps of the nurse returning. The man's voice, final and slow, resonated in the passage. It's the White Death, Doctor. And you caught it. The final sound before the recording failed was the sickeningly gentle sound of a child's ball bouncing once, right next to the mic. Mark wrote that they found Dr. Elias Vance, Ben Miller, and Sarah Jenkins 24 hours later, locked inside the death passage, unconscious and suffering from severe hypothermia. Every one of them had the same bizarre surgical injury, a perfectly circular, impossibly deep cut on the back of their necks, near the spine. They survived, and they remembered everything. Elias sits at home now, unable to look at a wall without seeing the child's red eyes. Ben refuses to enter a basement or a tunnel. The claustrophobia is permanent. And Sarah has been institutionalized multiple times. She can still smell the copper and formaldehyde, and feels the phantom stitches across her own eyelids. Mark only has this tape, and he sees the change in his cousin every day. He says he can't listen to the tape anymore, because sometimes, right before the silence, he hears that faint, weak, rattling breath. And Mark told me one last thing. He said that a few weeks ago, he was sitting alone when he heard a soft tap, tap, tap coming from his own hallway. He ran to his bathroom sink, and when he looked in the mirror, his hands, for a single horrifying second, looked black, as if they had been burned. Thank you, Mark, for sharing your cousin Elias's terrible story. If you liked this video and want to hear more true horror stories, subscribe for more. And if you want me to play that audio recording Mark sent in, the final moments from Elias's recorder, then comment below. I'm curious to know what you think is on that tape.